Hola, yo soy Hugo Bravo, este es doxal.com y esta vez estamos con Roger Mugford. Hola, Roger.
Hola, pleased to be in Mexico.
Thank you for coming. And can you tell us a little bit about you?
I'm technically described as an animal psychologist. I'm a Ph.D. with an interest in human behavior, but quite soon in my professional career I realized that actually our connection to nature, connection to animals is really important, and no animal is more important than the dog, and the cat, and a few others. But the animals that we love as companion animals are really an important part of human enjoyment and human mental health.
And you also have a company from products for dog training. Which products do you create?
Well, my background is very similar to yours, Hugo, that I have and I still do visit people's homes and they have problems with their pets, usually problems with dogs, and usually dogs that are aggressive or dogs that are physically in control of their owners. So it was pretty obvious that I should invent and create better techniques and better equipment which would overcome those problems.
And always for the benefit of the animals, don't you?
Well, it struck me very early on that, of course, for the benefit of the animals, but the equipment that people have been using, spike collars, choke chains, short leads, aggressive voice, heel, this approach to managing the simple process of a dog pulling on the lead is stupid and makes things worse and undermines the human-animal relationship, destroys the bond. So let's find a kinder way to teach a dog to walk on the lead. Why is that important? Because the world is dangerous, dogs off the lead, run into traffic. It would be a much nicer world if dogs did not have to be controlled on the lead. It's unnatural. But because they do, let's do it properly.
And you have been all over the world. You know a lot about the laws on different countries.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about having our dogs on leash or with a leash?
Well, practically speaking, in cities and in places that dogs could injure themselves and cause injury to others, a dog has to be on a lead. So practically it is important, but there should always be places, locations, where dogs can be free and play with their owners and play with people and meet other dogs. It's very important. And some countries, I'm thinking of China, every dog has to be on a lead at all times. Most places in Japan the same. In the forests of Norway, a big country, lots of space, but the hunters insist that all dogs have to be on the lead in the Norwegian forest. Crazy. In England, we're very lucky. UK, dogs are mostly free, and except when in town centres in cities where it's dangerous. So I don't like leash laws, but sometimes they're sensible and have to be enforced.
And what about the muzzles?
Muzzles too, I mean, it's unnatural, but the truth is that in some situations a dog, it can be dangerous. A dog that is frightened at the veterinarians, a dog that is aggressive to other dogs, and putting a muzzle on it, of course, keeps its mouth closed, is one way, but that way, which has become very popular, is very cruel to dogs. The dog cannot breathe with they're usually made of fabric, and they imagine a sock, a foot sock. It's been the end cut off and pushed over the dog's mouth, so it can't open its mouth. It stops the dog biting, but it also stops the normal pattern of breathing, which is through the nose and out through the mouth. And the dog cannot pant, so therefore the dog cannot keep cool, so the dog suffers terribly. So I invented a muzzle that allows the dog to open its mouth and, of course, that it cannot bite. And whilst its mouth is open, it can drink and receive treats. So the muzzle can be a training tool to rehabilitate dogs that are aggressive or dangerous.
And talking about tools for training, how do we select the right tool on the right moment for the right dog?
Well, there is no tool that's right for every dog. Every dog should be looked at in very specific terms. Fantastically, there is so much choice, so much variety, some confusion and difficulty to choose because there is so much variety of collars and leads and harnesses. Naturally, I would say, wouldn't I, Mugford, that mine are the best because I've worked on these designs and we've tried to make those designs functional and kind to the dog. But look, there are lots of fabulous, comfortable fitting harnesses. And my preference is to use a harness rather than to use a collar, because even a flat collar poses some stress upon the dog's neck. A harness spreads the load over the whole body. Something I'm very keen on, Hugo, is that we use 2 points of attachment. You wouldn't dream of managing a horse except with a very good double point of control at the front end at the horse's head. So 2 points of attachment are really important. That means double-ended leads are really important, which are common in Europe, especially common in Germany, and in America, and now I find in Mexico it's very unusual. And double-ended leads, I think, should become the norm. So one of my determinations is to encourage the popularity of double-ended leads with 2 points of contact, which might be each end of the back and the front of a harness. It might be a head collar, like my halter at the front, and the collar at the back, because that makes for such a more sensible point of control, a balanced point of control, and of course it puts the owner in a much better position controlling his pet. It's so much easier.
I have used most of your products, so it's our commitment to teach the owners to use them right and not excessively, because as you told us, not every tool works for everyone.
No, and I'm associated with the head collar, the halter. It was the first canine dog head collar in the world. There are many other designs now, none as good as the halter, but I would say that, wouldn't I?
No, I won't.
But to the point that a device like the halter, to me, is just a passing phase, a route towards a very slack, tiny physical control of the owner over the dog, and that essentially we're looking for psychological control of the owner over the dog. So the lightest the lead, the lightest the touch, the better. But when you have a big bruiser, confident Labrador or German Shepherd or Rottweiler or Jack Russell, another small dog, that in the early stages maybe you need some help with the halter. But then you graduate to a regular collar, a regular harness, or almost nothing, voice control. So it's an education tool that you use at a particular point in time with your dog.
Of course. And one last word. You also work with medical detection dogs. Can you tell us what is a medical detection dog?
The use of dogs to diagnose illnesses in people is a very new science, a new application of the dog. Think of all the other useful things that the dog does. It guides us in blind people. It finds hidden explosives. It finds bodies in earthquakes, and it's all due to the sense of smell. So certain diseases are associated with particular smells. Tuberculosis, when we have patients presented with TB, they have a particular smell on their breath. It's a bit dangerous to smell too closely, but they do. And we can train dogs, we can train rats to detect tuberculosis. Other medical conditions too have that, and interestingly, cancer. So we've been part of a really important groundbreaking research into the ability of dogs to detect cancer, and then what are the chemicals that the dog is is attending to, is watching out for. And when we identify what those chemicals are, of course, we can then create diagnostic tools which are mechanical or electronic, and which won't require the presence of a dog. But also, dogs are very good at detecting emotional upsets in people, and they calm us down and they make us happy when we're depressed. They're great therapists, and probably they're detecting our emotional states from the smell of our body. And of course, when our body is really sick with a condition like cancer of the breast, cancer of the prostate gland in men, these are diseases which are very difficult to diagnose, and many patients are not properly diagnosed until it's sadly too late and the cancer has spread around the body. So the dog is always concerned to lick an open sore on other dogs and on people. Any sign of abnormality on the body, dogs are attracted to, and remarkably they are very attracted to cancers. And it may be a local skin cancer, which is obvious, and hey, you need to take that skin cancer to the doctors, because the dog says you should, and it's not just a blemish, it's not just a bruise, it's could be more serious, but also these deep internal cancers that dogs will alert you to. Now, these are specially trained dogs, and maybe your own personal dog will respond in this way, but more likely it will be a specialist trained dog, and more likely it will be a dog which is responding to a secretion from the body, maybe breath, maybe sweat, or more likely urine.
Great information, Roger. Thank you very much for having this interview.
Hugo, it's just great to be in this dog-loving culture that is Mexico, and I hope that the love of our dogs extends to the love of all animals, domestic and wild, on farms and in the forest. Thank you.
Great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Good.
Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Ya saben qué hacer con este video. Si les gusta, denle like, compartan y suscríbanse.